You are listening to
The Shredcast.
No tendies, baby.
It's the health code for snowboarders.
Let's send it.
Welcome back to the Shredcast. Everyone, we have Kevin Pierce, also known as Snowboardprocamp, if you guys don't know. He's absolutely amazing. We met this past summer out in Mount Hood, and he's one of the first people to ever start doing like YouTube videos on snowboarding, at least to my knowledge, one of the like very few pioneers in that, doing like how to snowboard, snowboard vlogs, all of those things in the YouTube realm, and then also on like Instagram and TikTok. So super, super stoked to have you on here and just talk a little bit more about snowboarding. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm doing super well, Kaylee. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, doing well. It's snowboard season, so always doing good in the snowboard season.
Yeah, seriously, where are you based? Are you in Canada or?
So I am Canadian, and I've spent most of my seasons in Whistler, but last year I was in Tahoe, and then this year I'm in Salt Lake City.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've basically, yeah, I've been hearing such good things about Utah snow, like the Champagne powder. So I
Mhm.
thought this season, yeah, give it commit to a season and try to experience a full season in Utah. So yeah, this season I'm based in Salt Lake City, and as a Canadian, I can kind of hang out here for like 6 months at a time.
Oh, that's sick. So I
Yeah.
know like this whole year, at least currently, we don't have a ton of snow, at least where I'm at. Is Utah getting hit or is it still kind of like meh over there?
I mean, for the most part, it's been pretty dry. We've had, I would say, but we have had like 3 decent pow days,
Okay.
and it has been that like really light, like good snow. So I feel like, yeah, most of North America, we've kind of been struggling with just it
Hmm.
being dry and a little bit warm. But Utah maybe is doing slightly better than the rest of North America. Like we have had a few storms come through, some cold temperatures, but overall, I think it's been, yeah, like a low snow season. And one thing that's kind of saved it is like Woodward Park City is like has
Hmm.
made a ton of snow. So that's been fun to go check that out. But definitely, yeah, we're kind of lacking in the snow here too.
Yeah, because Woodward Park City has like their own little resort with chairlifts and stuff, right? It's not just the barn area.
Yeah, it's like a mini resort. Just I think just one chair and a couple like magic carpets,
Hmm.
but they've just been making snow like crazy. So yeah, you can go there and it's affordable as well. I think it's 120 for a month of riding.
Oh,
And you can just and you can just do month to month, so like no commitment. And that's kind of saved it for like, yeah, when the big mountains are kind of, just have maybe a couple runs open. Park City has been, or sorry, Woodward Park City has been super good. Yeah, it's just its own little like hill with I mean right now they've got, I think, like 3 small jumps, 3 medium jumps, a couple
oh, wow.
large, and at least like 30 or 40 jib features. So yeah, definitely something to keep like the local people occupied. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been super fun.
That's super cool. I've always wanted to check out what I've never been to any Woodward, but like especially Woodward Park City. It just looks like the biggest one out there out of their like whole franchise and just seems super sick.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just hardcore, want to ride terrain park, it's the perfect place.
Yeah.
Um, and there is actually a beginner area too, which is cool. But for like the average, if somebody just wanted to go and like ride the mountain and have fun, it's like there's not really much terrain outside of like just pure terrain park.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely has its place of like, yeah, if you just want to go like train, or just if you wanted to hit like the same line and get like some tricks down, it's perfect for that.
Yeah. Well, in your videos, you do like basically a whole lot of everything, a lot of like basic carving to skating to like more advanced tricks. So, what is your favorite? Would you rather be like all mountain rider or do you like the terrain park?
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, like I love all parts of snowboarding for sure. Like even like I do enjoy making beginner content. I like doing, yeah, trick tutorials. It's fun making vlogs. But I mean, I think there's just, yeah, something next level about a pow day when you're up in the mountain with your friends, and it's kind of like that big mountain riding.
Hmm.
Especially when it's quiet too. If you can find like that, like for me, my favorite places are like resorts that are a bit off the beaten path that are yeah, a bit more quiet. You can just go up, yeah, find some like big mountain lines and kind of be off a little bit on your own. That's for me, that's like the best kind of snowboarding.
Yeah.
And so I know, and it's not, maybe that isn't the most useful too for the videos,
Mhm.
because I mean it's maybe not as relatable as a tutorial or something like that, but I enjoy it all. Even like there's days where I just love making beginner content too.
Mhm.
um but yeah, how about yourself? Do you like park or like free riding?
Yeah, well, so I'm in Arizona. So if you've ever been to
Oh,
Snowpool, there's not much there.
okay.
It's a pretty small mountain, and that's where I learned to snowboard. And I grew up in Southern California, so the only other place was Big Bear. So I'm a little bit of a
Cool.
park rat just because that's what I've been around most. But I will say, as I like explore more freestyle, I want to get better at like more free ride and all mountain stuff of like freestyle around the mountain. But like at
Nice.
Snowball, we don't have drops really. We don't have like we have a couple tree runs that are fun and you can like hike up and go find stuff, but for the most
Yeah.
part it's like pretty limited terrain. But when I went to Jackson Hole, that was probably one of my favorite times because it was preseason, so we couldn't get up to the top or see like all the cool stuff that you'd see at Jackson Hole, but we did like because it was preseason, it was still very empty. So kind of what you're talking about, and you're just like this giant mountain with like known for all of their free ride stuff, just like roaming around all these places. And that was honestly so fun. Just a ton of powder. It was unreal.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's something so special about park too, where like even when we were at High Cascade, when we're just hiking in slushy snow to get like tricks down or to hit a jump or to get something on a box or tube, it's
Yeah.
something, a whole other kind of like part of your brain that gets addicted to
Mhm.
trying to, improve and master those things too. So I feel like each part of snowboarding kind of, yeah, it just ignites something different inside of you. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
totally.
a bit of everything.
Yeah, for real. Well, let's kind of talk about it then. How did you get into snowboarding? You're Canadian, you grew up, I'm assuming, by Whistler, or maybe not. Like, how did you kind of get into all of that?
No, so I grew up on more on the east side of Canada near Toronto,
Okay.
and it's pretty flat around there. There's some small hills. We do have like long cold winters, so you can, snowboard from, I mean, early December until into March. Not the longest season, but yeah, it's like a just a bitterly cold season there.
Mhm.
And my family wasn't into skiing or snowboarding. I was like my parents got me into sports like baseball, hockey, like just kind of team sport kind of things.
Mhm.
And then I think when like my earliest memory is I remember I had like a pair of like plastic skis like that one of my cousins had or something, and we were just like strapping them to our shoes and going down the pile of snow at the end of our driveway. And so did a little bit of that like as a small kid, and always kind of thought that at that time it was like, oh, skiing would be really cool to check out. And then I think maybe it was like my first year at high school, I had a friend who him and his dad like took me skiing for the first time. Did that for a couple years, and then in high school I had a friend who had some extra snowboard gear, and we just went to like our small local hill maybe like 45 minutes away.
Mhm.
And yeah, he taught me to snowboard, and that's kind of how I got into it. And then it was from there, luckily my high school had like a ski snowboard club, so every Tuesday there was like a bus that took all of us like up to the mountain or to the hill. And yeah, it was super fun. Like it was so different to be doing something as a like young person that wasn't a competitive sport,
Mhm.
or just like sitting in school or being in gym class, like the typical ways you kind of like socialize like as a young person. Snowboarding was just different. Like it seemed like everyone was excited to be out there. Even in high school, some of the popular kids in school or like the cool kids, they'd be riding, and they might be asking for like tips or advice, and all of a sudden everyone's just kind of uh yeah, talking and getting along in kind of a different way. And
Mhm.
so for me, yeah, snowboarding was a super special thing. that yeah, it wasn't like yeah, it wasn't your parents weren't there, it wasn't part of a team. There's no structure, and I think I liked it too because every time you went to the hill, there was like something to work on. Like I can
Hmm.
remember just getting to the hill and being like, okay, I have to learn to ride switch. So today I'm gonna, spend half of my day, trying to ride switch. And I think that was kind of unique too, in that you were doing something as like a teenager, and you like, for me, I like really wanted to improve on it. And then at the same time, like yeah, doing it with your friends and just yeah, having a good time. And where I was doing it on the East Coast too, it's just small hills, but at that time I still really appreciated like being outside, I mean, yeah, just like the beauty of like a snow covered hill with trees and all of
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. Like I thought that was like really special. And yeah, I mean, did that for a few years. And I can remember when I was young too, I would check the snow report, and my local hill had like 16 runs. But the last like resort in the weather report was Whistler Blackcomb, and it would say like 250 runs open of
Oh my
250.
God.
And yeah, so that started to like grow in my brain of like, okay, like I need to like, I mean, I don't think I really had an early like idea of like actually ever being able to get out there, and it maybe seemed just like a, something out of my reach. But it
Hmm.
just seemed like that was, if I was going to be in Canada snowboarding, then that was like the best place to do it. So that was
Yeah.
kind of when I was young and first getting into snowboarding, just like a small idea of like, yeah, Whistler, I got to get out there one day. But yeah, that's how I got into it. It was just from a friend in high school.
That's super cool. Did you like pick it up really fast or were you like struggling with it a lot? I mean, you're saying people were asking for tips, so did you kind of just like take off with it?
Not really. I think I mean, when I remember my first few days of snowboarding, it was a lot of falling. It was like really hard to get. I can remember it being really hard to get my toe turn.
Hmm.
Um, and I can remember just like the way the run was set up. I could easily do the heel, and every time I went to do my toe turn, like it would just like carry me like towards the trees.
Hmm.
Uh, so that was really difficult. And I remember like every time I got to a flat area, my board underneath me just felt like it was out of control and slippery, and like I couldn't have any control in the
Yeah.
flats. So I don't think I was like a natural at it. I think it maybe took me, like 3 kind of full days to get my turns down and to feel comfortable.
Hmm.
Um, but one thing I did really like I thought it was really cool that my friend like was giving me tips and teaching me.
Hmm.
And so then whenever we had like a new friend come out, or if we met somebody on the hill, then it was kind of a fun thing to then pass that on to the next person and, give them some advice to get their turns down
Hmm.
or whatever it was. So, I mean, so I didn't pick it up faster than anyone, but I do think that the the enjoyment of like, teaching or just like giving advice was there pretty early on.
Hmm.
um yeah, and it was very different. Like when I did a bit of skiing before that, I feel like skiing, because it kind of came very easy, and there wasn't like a learning curve.
Hmm.
You just put skis on and like go down a black diamond straight away kind of thing. um that was almost like more competitive like skiing. It was like, oh, race your friends, or
Yeah.
like let's see who can like go biggest on a jump.
Hmm.
Where snowboarding, because everyone was kind of struggling with it like kind of equally, it was more fun to just collaborate on like helping each other. And then yeah, even with the small terrain park we had, it was just talking to your friend, like asking them like, oh, how did you do that 180,
Yeah.
or yeah. So that was I think what was unique about snowboarding. And yeah, definitely it was a struggle. I remember after my first day of snowboarding, my arms were so sore that like I couldn't like shampoo my hair that night. It was I was just dead.
Yeah, when I went somewhere for the first time, I got my S turns the first day, but it was like the end of the day, like absolute end of the day. And I was like, cool, I did it. And I came home and I looked at my knees and they were just like swollen and red and so bruised from trying to get my toe
Oh,
turns all day. I was like, whatever, worth it. I got it.
Awesome. Oh, that's amazing that you got it. Did you have like a board sport background at all?
I mean, not really. I mean, I grew up in Southern California, so I surfed a little bit, but like horribly. And same with
Okay.
skateboarding. Like I never really did like any actual skateboarding. I'd like go ride around the harbor or something. I never like went into any sort of park with snow or with skateboarding. So kind of,
Okay.
but not really.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
I was just like determined, like kind of what you're saying, which I think is really unique about snowboarding is that you're there to like work on it with yourself and like mentally battle yourself to improve. And I've always just
Hmm.
done like sports like that, like very individualized sports where I'm like a perfectionist. I'm like, I have to get this now. And I think that that's like really fun and having like the community side of it to bounce off of people, but you're all just kind of working on your own thing. And I think that like, that's honestly super fun. Like same thing with High Cascade when we were there, like you saw me like pummel myself day after day trying to get the tame dogs. It was just like I was in my head, I was like, I'm gonna do it.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, yeah, I think that's kind of why we met too, because I could see like, oh, this girl is like so committed to landing this trick, and you were just, I mean, of everybody hiking the jump that day, I think, yeah, everyone was kind of watching you and being like, it's like, oh, like, when is she gonna get it? Like, it
I
was,
know.
yeah, it was super awesome to see.
If
And
only I
yeah, I
actually
mean,
did land
yeah, yeah.
it.
I mean, you had a few like, I think there's a
Close
couple you could
calls.
say like, yeah, you can maybe claim it though, just like a little butt check here or there.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that was awesome. That
Yeah,
was super
super
fun.
cool. Well, kind of talking about Whistler a little bit, like Whistler's known as being like a part of snowboard culture, like the place people go. Like a lot of big pros will retire there and go into the backcountry and do all those kinds of things. So, did you like get into snowboard culture and then you were like, oh, Whistler's like a part of this, or was it just because you grew up in Canada and knew about Whistler and it's just like a sick big mountain?
I think it was because yeah, it was just like like I think I was more I don't want to say I was on like the outside, but so when I was in Ontario, like near Toronto, I did get into teaching snowboarding out there,
Hmm.
and that was, I loved doing that. Did it for a couple of years, and just wanted to spend all my time at the resort. And yeah, eventually people started talking more and more about Whistler, and then got an opportunity to go out and teach for a spring. And I think like yeah, when I arrived, I was definitely in over in over my head a bit. Like just the mountain was so huge. I remember
Mm,
my first few laps having to like pull off and like take a break. Just yeah, the runs were just so long.
mm,
So I think yeah, I think it wasn't really that I was ready, or I don't know really how to say it. Like I wasn't. It was just for me. I think it was the place that I felt I needed to go to kind of go to that next level, or like help me to become a better snowboarder, where I could
mm.
maybe meet some snowboarders that were, better. Like you're saying, yeah, there's so many high level pros and all kinds of things like that going on out there. So yeah, I think for me, I thought I saw it as an opportunity to improve my riding, to maybe yeah learn how to ride a big mountain like that. And so I think yeah, it was. I mean, where I came from in Ontario, the hills are just so small. At that time, there wasn't even a lot of terrain parks there, so
Mhm.
you didn't have a lot of things like rails and boxes and tubes. Those were you're pretty sparse. Like maybe your mountain would have a few. Same with jumps. So it was yeah, it was more like I just felt like I needed to go someplace that was going to be a challenge, and maybe the idea too is that that could possibly launch a career into snowboarding
Mhm.
somehow. Because when I was teaching snowboarding in Ontario, I was maybe, I was making $15 an hour, which was amazing for being like, 19 years old and
Mhm.
being able to snowboard and make some money like that. Um, but it was, again, it was like a short season. So it wasn't really that, you'd have to get other jobs to go along with that.
Yeah.
And so Whistler seemed like yeah that opportunity to improve my riding and then possibly just see where snowboarding would take me. And I was yeah pretty quickly like just humbled by the level of riders that were out there, the level of other like teachers and coaches, In the terrain park, yeah, you would see just all kinds of pros throwing crazy sevens and nines and tens and beyond, so crazy
Yeah.
tricks. And so it was a very inspiring place to be. I met some uh, people that became like mentors of mine who I looked up to, and I looked up to the way they taught, how they were snowboarding.
Hmm.
So that kind of gave me some new goals to work towards of learning from like fellow snowboarders and mentors. So that was amazing. And yeah, it was just the mountain is that those Whistler and Blackcomb just push your riding so much too. It's uh, for me, it was the perfect place to be an instructor, because if you did get like a higher level class, you were learning along with your students too. I mean, maybe you would be able to guide them through the terrain and show them a thing or two, but at the same time you're able to work on your own techniques, like if you're riding like a steep double black diamond or dropping cliffs or whatever it was. It was just such an amazing like opportunity to be working on your own riding throughout the day.
Hmm.
um, and a lot of students I had too, or who were into the terrain park, most of them wanted to learn, kind of basics like 180s, 360s. And that was just an awesome opportunity for myself too, to, as I was teaching them and maybe doing some demos, that was helping me to learn. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was amazing. It was just the perfect place to be challenged and to, yeah, learn about snowboarding, learn about the culture, meet some of the top pros at the time, and kind of see what they were doing. I remember I would see like guys that I was watching in the snowboard movies. Like
Hmm.
one time at the in lunch, I saw JP Walker. He was like eating lunch next to me, and I thought I was like, oh man, I watch this guy like every night on a
Yep.
DVD like snowboard movie, and now he's like, yeah, sitting beside me. And even there was a local crew there. I mean, you probably know Sandbox Helmets.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think they've always been before they were a helmet company, they just did like movie parts.
Okay.
Um, and Sandbox Helmets kind of originated there, because to ride in the double black terrain park, you had to wear a helmet. So I think
Okay.
the local riders actually made kind of a minimal helmet so that they could ride. And so yeah, I would see those guys all in the park, and yeah, so it was just like inspiration all around, challenges everywhere. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was kind of what got me out to Whistler.
That's so sick. So, did you start Snowboard Pro Camp once you were out there? Like you were just teaching for a little bit and you're like, I want to move online, or how did that all kind of come about?
Um, I mean, it was a super long process. I think I taught in Whistler for about 9 years, or
Okay.
at least nine. It was definitely 9 years or more, maybe 10. And I think the idea of making some video content I had for maybe like 6 years into working there. I started thinking like, oh, it'd be cool to make a tutorial, or maybe show people like some runs around Whistler Blackcomb.
Hmm.
And I was kind of doing that with my students already. Like we would just make like, this was before like phones on your camera. We would just have like point and shoot cameras. This is
Hmm.
before GoPro too. Um, and we just make fun videos of like students dropping clips or getting their tricks, and putting together short
Hmm.
edits and sharing with them on Facebook or whatever. Um, so yeah, the idea of like, and YouTube was kind of just getting started as well, like in 2006 or
Yeah.
2008. And when YouTube started, it was kind of, it was like it was incredible, but it was kind of, people like kind of make fun of the fact that like people creators weren't making money, but they were making like likes and views.
Hmm.
So your most like the most famous like YouTuber at the time, maybe they would have like 50,000 likes on a video, but they weren't earning any money.
Yeah.
So it was kind of this new thing that was a bit, yeah, like odd. Like how are people doing this? Is it worth doing? Can you like, is it sustainable?
Hmm.
And there were some like a few different DVDs out. Snowboard Addiction had a series of
Hmm.
DVDs. I had a friend, his name was Matt Belair. He did a like a short series, and you could just download the videos off of his website.
Okay.
So people are kind of like dabbling in like different things with snowboard content. Um, and yeah, at some point throughout teaching, I think I started to feel a little bit not bored, but the
Burnt
challenge or
out.
the maybe a bit burnt out, and yeah, a little bit burnt out, and the not as maybe as much inspiration as I once had. And I mean, it's not the most like dynamic job too. It's like, sometimes you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I felt like in my late 20s, like I needed a challenge and something new to yeah, just to test myself with.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think that kind of just fell timed perfectly with YouTube starting to pay creators.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think at the time anybody else was doing it. Like I know Snowboard Addiction, they did have their DVDs for sale. Um, uh, my friend Matt, he did have his website, but there were some like snowboard tutorials, and they were part of a like there was like how-to channels where there would be
Hmm.
like a collection of how-tos. They'd be like, how to fix your sink, how to like fix
Yeah.
your like how to change a tire, and there'd be like how to pick a snowboard jacket.
Yeah.
Um, so I could yeah, so I remember seeing those videos and thinking, and they were getting like millions of views at the time. So when I started seeing like, okay, there's actually a way to monetize it, people were earning money, and there was like a big demand for snowboard content.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I started just, I think I'd go out with like a friend, maybe like buy him lunch or something for helping me film.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just starting to put out content that was, what I thought was like the most valuable content, just from knowing that that's what my students wanted to learn.
Hmm.
So like a beginner series, some basic tricks, and then some just basic like gear knowledge.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think the first season it was like I was doing that while I was teaching snowboarding, and that was kind of difficult just to manage the time. And then my like second year of YouTube, I yeah quit my full-time teaching job, and then just decided to go full-time YouTube,
Wow.
uh, which was a huge risk. And I think I lost a lot of money probably the first season. But yeah, that was kind of like the jumping off point,
Hmm.
around 2012.
Okay. Wow. So you've been in it for 10, 11 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy. That's so
Yeah,
crazy. It's
yeah.
funny too, because I started snowboarding 6 years ago. And I remember like I didn't start until I moved out to Flagstaff. So I was in college. And I just remember like sitting in my dorm room, like, how do you snowboard? Because I was going up with all of my friends who were like super amazing. We didn't even have any of the small runs open. So I was like, all right, I'm just getting sent on a blue my first time. And we have this like horrific catwalk the second you get off of the chairlift. And it was fun, but God, it was a hard time. And I was just sitting there like, how do I turn? How do I do this? And like all of your videos popped up and I was just like binging them for so long.
Oh, awesome. Oh, cool. Did it help for the next time you went?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think like
Awesome.
I got S turns on my first time, so I mean something clicked.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Oh, nice.
Did you feel like you have like this, not have, but like had an impact on people shifting from like physically watching people improve snowboarding to like online teaching people? Did you get like that feedback from people and you're like, oh, this is like really working? Or was it just more of like, this is fun and I'm making some money off of it? And like, obviously people are watching and gaining something from it, but.
Yeah, I think I saw that there was a positive feedback like right from the start.
Hmm.
Um, and just with like, yeah, the number of views and comments, people were like, yeah, leaving super nice comments.
Hmm.
Um, so that was like, I think it was going well from the start, and I think I tried to make it too, that I made the videos that were that I thought would be the most successful, or the most like, the videos that people would want to see the most.
Hmm.
Um, so that feedback was pretty positive straight away, from the comments and from the views. The challenge for me was I didn't have any like background in like video editing or
Hmm.
like any of those things. So the learning curve for me was a little bit hard. And then also just the like it's so different when you have like a boss or like you have a job where you have to show up for and like go to work. And
Hmm.
I found that was kind of a challenge of working for yourself and just having to be disciplined of like, okay, today I'm gonna like spend 6 hours editing a video,
Yep.
or or I'm gonna spend like a day just like writing down video ideas. I was like okay at doing that, but it wasn't like, yeah, it did take me a little while to kind of have the discipline to just be an entrepreneur and like
Yep.
just be like, yeah, okay, like whatever work I put into this is what I'm gonna get out.
Hmm.
Um, and it was kind of weird because not like at that point, like people weren't really like filming themselves on the mountain, like
Yeah.
talking to a camera, going up with friends, filming. That was like not a thing yet.
Yeah.
So that it was a little bit weird. And I mean, I didn't mind putting myself out there, but it was a little bit of a struggle to like just actually, yeah, take that risk and be kind of vulnerable online.
Hmm.
So yeah, even with my content, like I didn't have videos that like I was in for I think like 2 or 3 years like into the channel. It was just like all narration
Hmm.
and I can remember like friends kind of giving me feedback and saying like, you know, like I mean, my friends at the time, they didn't know like what was kind of social media, like what was happening either. So they were just like, oh yeah, it's probably good that you don't show your face because then people are gonna like see you like at the mountain or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, I think that all that kind of like slowed the growth a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, just all those like kind of natural things of like, yeah, it being a new kind of industry, like yeah, me learning and it being kind of hard to just put yourself out there like that. And like with social media, you always get negative feedback at points too.
Yeah.
And that was like a weird thing to kind of handle as well as getting, yeah, negative comments or
Hmm.
just people, yeah, writing a bad article about you or something. And
Yep.
so that was weird getting that kind of internet criticism.
Yeah, it's weird when
Um,
you're like trying to do something to help people and like you have good intentions behind it, and then people are like bashing you on random stuff that like might not even be about what you're doing. And like I can't
yeah,
even
yeah.
imagine, like I'm not some amazing snowboarder. I don't like put out there how to snowboard because I don't have the credentials to do that. But I couldn't even imagine like the backlash of people that are like, you suck at this, you should be doing it like that. Like I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a weird thing to, yeah, it's a weird thing to deal with because I mean, most of the time too, it's people that you've never met, you'll never see, you have no idea who's like on the other side of the comment. Yeah, so that was weird. But and yeah, so that was, I think, yeah, it was weird. So the channel was doing well, but it was like, yeah, there was weird things in hindsight that were kind of keeping it from going forward. I think one thing that did help me is I did actually move to the city to Vancouver for a year,
Hmm.
and I was just a bit burnt out on Whistler in general. Um, the other thing I should mention too is when the first like 3 or 4 years of the channel, I was very it was kind of isolating too because I went from a job where you have like all your work friends and like the whole like social life
Hmm.
of going to work every day to trying to make your own business. It can be like a pretty like lonely endeavor.
Yeah.
So just being in my apartment, working on videos and then going snowboarding and just talking to a camera, like not even another person.
Yep.
um, uh, so that it was kind of like a lonely kind of 3 or 4 years. But I do remember I moved to the city to Vancouver for a year, and I started bumping into people in the city who were like who were watching the videos, and that like gave me like a really huge boost of like I was like, oh wow, like really gotten out of like the Whistler bubble or just out of
Hmm.
snowboarding. Um, and then once that started happening, that kind of gave me a lot of confidence, and I got excited about like, oh, I can't wait to move like back to the mountains, really get into like going hard on the channel like full time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then when I did go to the mountain too, I was like seeing people. I remember I put out some videos on butters, like how to do a butter tripod and
Hmm.
some other like butter videos. And then I would see people on the run like doing these tricks, which I would never see like before like I started the YouTube channel. I was like, oh damn, there's a lot of people like doing tripods like down
Yep.
the hill. And then I was like, and then people would like, yeah, people would yell out yeah, people would be like Kevin or like Snowboard Pro Camp. And so when that kind of stuff happened, I was like, oh, this is like, yeah, this is actually reaching people and like, yeah, helping them, and people are stoked on it. And I
Yeah.
think so when you get that combination of good feedback and inspiration, then after that, I think that's when I yeah really got into more of a groove and more putting out content to where the channel is now. So yeah, that really helped.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you do something online, especially when you're like one of the first people to start doing something online and make money online, and it's not a regular thing, and you're just kind of like up in the air of whether it's going to work or not. Like nowadays, people know if you really put in the time, you do it, like you can make it work. It's definitely more of like a normalized thing. But when you're
Yeah,
doing it like that and it's new and you don't know the people that you're helping and you don't get the recognition, it's kind of hard to be like, is this helping? Am I actually doing anything? And it definitely
yeah.
helps so much when you like, whether it's a comment or whether it's in person and someone's like recognizes you or like says something helped you, you're like, wow, that like actually means so much because you're putting in all this time and you're like hoping someone gets something from it, but you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was like dead on. Like I was just yeah, in my apartment making these videos. I'm like, is this actually like my lifestyle at the moment at that moment was so much worse than it was before, like having friends and going to the mountain and teaching
Yep.
people one on one. Cause
Yeah.
yeah, you get that immediate feedback and you get yeah, you get friends and you get like yeah, social life. And then I was like 3 years into just working away on my computer and yeah, I was like, what's going on here? But yeah, eventually, and there was also because it was, yeah, like you're saying too, it's like this new thing and my friends were saying to me, like, oh, well, like, why are you doing this? Is there any, or my parents too, were like, my dad was like, oh, well, is there any like future in this? Are you wasting your time? Um, you know, why don't you go back to working for the mountain? Like all these things. And like those are all like reasonable things because it was totally like an unproven place.
Yeah.
And the another thing that kind of gave me some hope was just seeing like my goal was always to earn the same amount of money that I would have if I was just teaching snowboarding for the mountain. And
Yeah.
so when I started to see like that was actually going to happen, that gave me a lot of confidence too, because I was like, okay, this is maybe sustainable, just so that I can actually, afford to buy a lift ticket and, buy
Mm.
rent, afford rent for my apartment and
Yeah.
food to eat and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, eventually it worked out.
Yeah, for real. I can't even imagine like you just jumping right into it too. Like that I would be so terrified to be like, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of people that move to a resort town or that get into snowboarding, it kind of takes somebody outside of the norm as well. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure like being at High Cascade, that going to that place, like who goes summer snowboarding? Like there's such a
Yeah.
oddball thing to do. Um, so I mean, yeah, you kind of have to be a bit of a risk taker and be a bit strange to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Well,
yeah.
let's kind of talk about that. So like we mentioned it earlier, I met Kevin I wasn't in High Cascade. I was in Tommy's summer camp, but you work with High Cascade a little bit, and so we met up there just lapping a jump trying to get my tail dog. But do you want to like talk about what you do with High Cascade and like how you caught into doing that and going summer snowboarding every year?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, shout out Tommy Bennett too. He's killing it with his channel as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think I mean, I didn't know about High Cascade or Oregon or summer snowboarding or anything like that until maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. And
Hmm.
I think there were some YouTube videos that started popping up, and showing clips from not even from camp, but from like pros who were maybe riding at camp.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I thought that was that looked really interesting. And at that point, I think at some point, maybe 5 years into the channel, I started to I'm like, okay, maybe I can, work on the channel year round, do videos year round. So yeah, High Cascade seemed like that could be a good option to like go down and film.
Hmm.
So yes, at some point I emailed um, Kevin English, who's I'm not exactly sure what his title was at the time, but yeah, he's like one of the OGs of the camp. And yeah, I got a really positive response from Kevin. We talked on the phone for like 45 minutes, about the channel, about the video content. He was, really excited about the videos, which was important to like, be potentially collaborating with somebody who is like stoked on the videos.
Hmm.
And yeah, we worked out something where he would help out with some lift tickets the first season, and I would just come down. And I was with TJ too, Board Archive at that time,
Hmm.
and we would just go down and make videos, kind of promote the camp, not from like within the camp kind of perspective, but just as a at that time too, they had their own park lane, so it wasn't just a public park; it was like the High Cascade only terrain park.
Hmm.
So yeah, our goal was just to go down there, make a bunch of content, and try to help promote the camp in exchange for some lift tickets. So the first season, I think it went really well. The next season, we talked to them again. They invited us back, and I think this time they gave us lift tickets and accommodation, which was really cool. Um, and yeah, the lift tickets at High Cascade, they're or not at High Cascade, for Timberline for the resort, are pretty expensive. So that
Yeah.
was huge to have help with the lift tickets, and then to have accommodation on top of that, that was huge. So
Hmm.
yeah, I just worked hard trying to do like the best videos to help promote the camp. And I think then the third time we went back, it was the same kind of deal. And this time I think the content had actually, kind of gotten through to more adults,
Hmm.
and like youth campers too. And TJ and I, we just got like, it was like we were just talking to people all day who had seen the videos or who had seen us at High Cascade one of the years before.
Hmm.
And so I think it was like the third season was a really like special one, just like meeting people, meeting campers, hanging out, going to like the all the events and everything like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was a really special one, and it felt like it had really, yeah, had a positive, just overall impact. And then I think we did another year where we worked something out where, anyone that signed up to camp through us, it was like a commission kind of thing, and that went well. And I think then that there was like 2 or 3 years of COVID. Uh,
Oh yeah.
so like yeah, for me being in Canada, like I couldn't get to camp. I couldn't actually get into the US.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of just delayed things a little bit. And and then there was actually a season where I was just at Mount Hood to ride. I think I just felt like I needed a summer to ride for myself, and I just rode at Mount Hood all summer,
Hmm.
just for myself and for fun. And I didn't even make any video content. I was just kind of
You're
just
just
some
there
like
to.
soul, yeah, just some soul snowboarding, and just to have some fun. And it was funny because the very last day I was there, I actually ran into Kevin again, and he's like, we missed you this year. Like, it'd be great to have you back next year. So, yeah, we got back in touch, and I guess this past year was like, yeah, the first time in maybe 4 years that was like back at camp, and yeah, it was. I mean, this past one was amazing. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, love High Cascade, love the whole vibe, all the coaches, campers. Mount Hood is such a special place.
Yeah,
So, I
seriously.
mean, it's the spot to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if you've never really heard about Mount Hood in Oregon. Like it has a really special place in just snowboard culture. A lot of pros like grew up going to High Cascade or just if you go in the summer, you'll see all of your idols. Like I swear, they're all up there. It's wild. And if you have the ability, the money to go out, either doing a summer camp or just going to ride there, you definitely should. It's a really cool place. Not a lot of terrain, but just everyone there is just chill, vibing, trying to learn new tricks. And like it's super, super slushy, snow conditions. So it's not like you're there to ride PAL. You're there just to like hang out and have a good time. So super fun. Highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, perfect place to like try those tricks that you've been waiting to learn because
Yeah.
you got that slushy landing. So it's
And
perfect.
an
Yeah.
airbag too.
Oh yeah, then you got the airbag. Yeah, you got it all. And you got
Yeah.
amazing coaches. So yeah, you can just go and hug yourself.
Yeah, seriously. I'm so sad I never like knew about High Cascade and didn't like start snowboarding until I was 18, so I couldn't ever go to the actual like kids camp, but I watch all those little kids there and I'm just like, dang, that sounds like the most fun week of your life. Like I wish I had
Oh
that
yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like yeah, if all those young kids are, especially if you want to yeah, be a high level snowboarder or like possibly compete, like those all those kids are getting a huge head start.
And you get to ride with your idols like every, I don't know if this is a normal thing, but at least last year, like every week of camp was a different like snowboard company. So like Capita Week, Burton Week, all those kinds of things. And they bring out their pro team and you're just like riding with them. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's and yeah, just the whole vibe. Yeah, just everyone's stoked, everyone's happy to be there. You feel like it's the center of the world for snowboarding like at that moment. It's so cool.
Yeah. Well, you do this full time. Your whole life basically revolves around snowboarding. But I wanted to just kind of talk about like who you are and what you do outside of snowboarding and what your life looks like because it's not really out there on the internet, which I get. Don't want to
Right.
put everything out there. But if there's anything you would like to share just to get people to like know more about you, I'd love to learn that. Like what kind of hobbies do you do other than like snowboarding, snowboard filming?
Um, oh, that's interesting. It's kind of weird because I mean, snowboarding has kind of consumed my life.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'll try to like, yeah, let me think of the things that maybe are still outside of snowboarding or used to be.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, even this past summer, you were at High Cascade, and then didn't you go down to like South America too? And so you were still snowboarding like year round.
yeah, was in New Zealand and then was in Austria for a bit, and then yeah, I came here. But yeah, yeah, what else? I mean, before I got into snowboarding, it was, I mean, I think I mentioned this, but it was like, uh, yeah, like sports teams, baseball, hockey, like things like that. So I've always like enjoyed being like doing athletic things. Dodgeball in gym class, that was my favorite 30 minutes of the day. I was, I would say I was a pretty like shy kid. Like I wasn't that talkative or like didn't never spoke out in class.
Mhm.
Didn't have that many friends. Had like a few friends that were like good friends that we'd go and do stuff. I'd go and do stuff with, but yeah, I was pretty shy overall. Never thought I would have any kind of job or career where I was speaking to cameras or to people. That
Oh,
was never my like strong suit. So yeah, it was always like, yeah, quiet, but into sports. And I think, yeah, anytime before I kind of really got into to like snowboarding just so much, I guess I'd like to spend, I'd like to do outdoorsy things too, like go on hikes or go to a
yeah,
lake or to a beach.
yeah,
I really love traveling, so I've been lucky to like have traveled a lot. I've been to Europe a few times. Love going to. I mean, my favorite country is probably Italy,
hmm,
just for the art and the culture and the food.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm really into. I love. I'm a bit into food stuff too. Like I love always checking out new restaurants.
yeah.
I'm vegan, which is maybe a bit different.
Okay.
That can sometimes be a lot of time in my life just looking for vegan options on menus and stuff. And
Is there good
um,
vegan options in Italy?
there surprisingly are, yeah.
Huh.
so a lot of like the pizza chains in Italy will have like vegan cheese,
Oh
so
wow.
you can do that. And I think like, and if even like if a lot of Italian food in restaurants, a lot of it is like like vegetarian, or you can just like take out like have no cheese and have it vegan. So
Hmm.
like a lot of like pastas with like tomato sauce and vegetables and
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
that's true.
Yeah,
Super
so
cool
it's
though.
Italian's pretty vegan friendly. So that's like I wouldn't say it's like a hobby, but it's something I'm like interested in is like health and um yeah, just trying to be healthy and trying to be outdoors. And I'm really into movies as well. Love watching kind of into maybe like horror movies. That'd be my favorite genre.
Yeah,
Um
same.
oh, cool. Have you seen any good ones recently?
Recently, not really. I feel like honestly, I feel like ever since COVID, like the movies coming out have kind of sucked. Maybe that's an
Okay.
unpopular opinion, but
Have you seen oh, what's it called? The Iron Claw or the Iron
I
Fist?
no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so good. It's about a family of wrestlers. It's like
Okay.
a dad who's like he was the original Iron Claw, and then he retires, and then his four boys kind of like he encourages to get into wrestling.
Hmm.
But it's not about the wrestling, it's about the family dynamic,
Okay.
and it's a pretty heavy drama.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm actually horror movies, but also like kind of indie dramas I really love too. I don't know if you know the studio, they're A24 Films, but
Mm-mm.
they kind of make movies that are a bit like like low budget but interesting stories and
Hmm.
heartfelt stuff. Yeah.
That's super
So,
cool.
what about YouTubers? Is there YouTubers outside of snowboarding or like
I watch a
health
lot of,
that you like?
yeah, I watch a lot of like health and fitness YouTubers, so like
Nice.
probably not any people that you would know of, but a lot of like female like health and fitness people that just do like vlogs or I don't know, like workouts, stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really inspiring to watch and helpful for sure.
Yeah, I learn a lot and it just like helps me create habits and stuff that maybe I wouldn't otherwise. I'm like, oh, that's like a smart thing to do and implement that into my routine.
Yeah, habits are so important. Like once you make something a habit, it's so easy.
Seriously. And you said you
I
were
need
kind of into health a little bit, and that's kind of like my whole thing. So I'm curious, like, do you do anything specific for snowboarding that you think has like benefited just like growing up and snowboarding all the time? It's naturally gonna take a toll on your body.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of how I got into the vegan thing is maybe yeah, it was maybe 10 years ago. I
Hmm.
felt like yeah, from all the snowboarding and small injuries and everything, I just kind of felt like I was yeah, like broken. Like my body was like I remember walking back from the grocery store and kind of like it was painful just to walk at that point. And I think in my 20s, maybe I was like too reckless with my lifestyle, like what I was eating, what I was doing outside of snowboarding.
Yeah.
So almost like no like pre or post snowboarding, like stretching or workout, or I would go to the gym, but that my gym habit was more like the traditional like lift heavy weights
Lifting.
to try to like, you know, get big muscles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was probably not helpful for snowboarding. And like yeah, diet wise, I think I just ate like what I thought was good for me, like just from you know what my parents like kind of taught me to eat. So nothing outs you know nothing that was outside of just like a standard diet. And um yeah, probably rehab wise too. I wasn't good with like I didn't have any massage balls or rollers or bands or anything like that to kind of like help me out.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was kind of broken when I yeah about 10 years ago, and then I started thinking like okay, I need to take care of myself. So I started learning about the vegan thing and tried that, and that made me feel better. I started getting into I mean I did at the time I was really into yoga. I was trying to do
Hmm.
that like you know like every day. and also have like all the different tools, like yeah, rollers and massage balls to kind of kind of maintain everything and kind of help help me out after a hard day of riding.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like learning to rest too. I don't think, when I was in my 20s, I was just like going hard like every single day, snowboarding as hard as I could,
Yeah.
going out at night all the time,
Yep.
and just not resting, not getting good sleep, not like doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just started to try to become more aware of all of those things. And um yeah, so I think yeah, it's so important, and I definitely have gotten more into it. My habits like aren't perfect. I think like things like stretching and some mobility, like good mobility exercises, I probably need to turn into habits. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do know I need to do them. I just I'm not that good with like implementing. So I'll have to
Yeah.
start watching all your videos. I have been like checking out your videos from time to time, so I'll have to like get into like a strong routine of watching your stuff and putting that into my day to day.
Yeah, something
How
I
d-
like to tell people and like honestly tell myself is it doesn't need to be some super complicated thing. Like you don't need to do some extensive warm-ups, some extensive recovery with different stretches and mobility and workouts. Like if you're doing it properly and you're strength training through a full range of motion, like that there is mobility. Like that's what mobility is. So you don't need to like do any extra stuff honestly other than that. And
right.
like you said, like just doing like strength in terms of like bodybuilding strength isn't going to translate, but if you're loading full range of movement, which is a whole different kind of strength, like that's going to translate over so much better.
Oh, amazing. Maybe after this you could like share with me your like three top, like, here, use these three things and keep it simple and it'll help. That'd be
Yeah,
huge.
totally. Totally.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, there is like so much out there too. Like I'm like on TikTok, I follow a lot of people who give advice, and it's just yeah, it's overwhelming because I mean everything sounds good. It's like, oh, I should do this and I should do that, and I should
Hmm.
be like hanging from like monkey bars, and I should be like I should be doing like what do they call pistol squats,
Yeah.
like all these like really cool things. But I mean, then you do them for like one day, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what else am I missing? What else should I be doing?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, and maybe you'll agree. Our content is a little bit like different, but for me, I'm like, that's the hardest part with me putting content out there is I'm like, I feel like it gets overwhelming because people see so many like different things. And in my brain, it all makes sense because I'm like, if you follow one specific plan and you just do like this one thing, it's easy. But then you see all these like random comments or content out there, and you're like, I don't know, which one should I be doing? How do I like put these things together and put this together? And it can get super, super confusing. So I get that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think for you too, you probably know like the foundational things that are like, it's like, okay, these are the core principles, and even
Yeah,
if there's 100 different ways to look at it, when it all comes kind of back to the same
like
like
core
thing
thing.
that it's like it's helping. Um, so I mean, I think it's okay too, like to do like uh to talk about the same thing but from a different angle,
Hmm.
and it's good to repeat sometimes and remind people. Um, yeah, and to keep it simple. Yeah, simple is the best
For snowboarding
for
too,
sure.
just learning how to snowboard. Like, honestly, for me, the biggest thing was just like put your chest up, squat down more, just like small little tweaks in the way that I was carrying myself that made like a giant difference.
Absolutely, yeah. I was thinking about that today actually, that like your stance over your board, like that one thing is like the most important thing in snowboarding.
Hmm.
Like yeah,
Hmm.
knees bent, like back straight, kind of having proper posture. It
Yep.
just like centers you on the board. I think like yeah, Tommy too. He's like a perfect example. He's just like so stacked,
He
and
has
so
the
any
perfect stance. It's wild.
he does, yeah, absolutely. Are you gonna go back to camp again this year?
I hope so. I haven't like put any actual plans into it, but I know I'm gonna be out in at Mount Hood, whether it's like in camp or just in general. I'm going out again because it's just too awesome of a place not to go again.
For sure. Yeah, I think I'll be there too.
Yeah, that'll be sick.
Yeah.
I think everyone listening should go. Let's fill up the mountain.
Definitely.
Well, awesome. I
Absolutely.
guess I just kind of want to wrap this up by discussing like your future. Like, what do you kind of want to do with Snowboard Pro Camp? You've been in it for so long. So do you have any like special things you might be doing this year that are like different or like a new project you want to start or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, in the future, like one thing I really want to get into is making snowboard content around like places of snowboard that are a bit less common. So
Hmm.
this winter, I'm going to India for 3 weeks,
Oh,
and
wow.
in like yeah, in like the northern part of India, kind of like on the border with Pakistan, there's an area called Kashmir, and
Oh,
there's a resort there called Gulmarg, and so we're gonna go there for 3 weeks and hopefully make like a whole series of snowboard vlogs and kind of document what it's like to snowboard there, the culture, the whole
hmm.
like everything that's going on in snowboarding in India. And so that's like a project I'm really excited about. I'd like to get so I have been to Chile once, but I'd like to get back down to like Argentina and Chile maybe again
Hmm.
next summer
Hmm.
and make some more vlog content there around, yeah, again, like the culture. I think it's like because it's like it is so different, the approach, the whole vibe, like South American people, like when I was there, they're just so friendly and
Hmm.
welcoming and all that kind of stuff. And so that adds like a lot, I think, to snowboarding. And then on top of that, the terrain there is like incredible, like incredible sunsets and scenery, and
Hmm.
the trees are totally different. So yeah, I think a big goal for me going forward with the channel, and I have been doing it a bit, but is to make content in places that people either are not sure of what snowboarding is like there, or just like had no idea that you could even do it.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
didn't know
places,
India had a
yeah,
place at all.
yeah, yeah, me neither before, like, yeah, not too long ago, yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
there's yeah, and there's so many countries like that. Like, I mean, there's like great snowboarding in like Turkey, and one of the guys I met at camp, Gabe, his background is Lebanese, and he was saying in Lebanon you can go snowboarding.
Huh.
Um, and yeah, all these like, I mean, even places in China. I know like China was on the Olympics, but
Yeah.
I feel like that didn't really show. Um, in the northern part of China, there's some actual like resorts that get a lot of snow, and you can do
Hmm.
like cat skiing and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, just really trying to get to some unique places
Hmm.
and try to make snowboard vlogs that are part culture and part just showing this like unique place to snowboard.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, so that's a huge goal. Another one going forward in the future is to maybe like start getting into doing some camps a little bit.
Hmm.
I've kind of like hesitated from getting into that because I like spent so long like teaching in person, doing it for like over 10 years. So like I do love it, but it's kind of something, yeah, I've done it so much.
Yeah.
But I have in the last like year two had some like really incredible experiences like at High Cascade,
Hmm.
not officially being part of camp, but just kind of being around it and doing some coaching.
Yeah.
And it is like so rewarding. So I would like to
Hmm.
get into that in some different ways, maybe outside of the summer and outside of like necessary. It doesn't have to be like in the park. Maybe it could be like free riding in Chile or maybe in Japan or something like that,
Yeah.
or like over in China or someplace like that. So I feel like those kinds of things are things I'd like to do because you get to meet people. It's different.
Hmm.
Make those connections. Um, I mean, and the last I think goal for me moving forward too is to really collaborate with people who like that I have a good connection with and that are kind of like, I guess it's like finding your people. So like finding this people that you vibe with, that you just feel like you're on the same level in terms of whatever it is. I don't even really, there's not really a thing you can describe about it, but just continue to collaborate with like cool, interesting people that are on the like similar wavelength, whatever that is. And so I have like been getting into that more, I think the last couple of years, and like finding those people. So yeah, I just want to continue to do that too. I mean, everybody's great, but I mean, I just when you like have that connection with somebody and you're like, oh, this person is like really fun to ride with or make videos with, or like last year in Tahoe, I like made some like really good friends who aren't even in the snowboard industry, but just snowboarders who like know the channel, who I've had a chance to meet up with, and now I feel like some of those people are like friends for life. So like inside of the snowboard industry, but also just outside in terms of like making friends. Just continuing to find like those people. I feel like that is that's probably number one, is just to find cool people to ride with and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think one of the biggest things about snowboarding is community. And so I think it's so amazing to find those people where you're like, not only is like this my favorite thing in the world to do, but like it's so much more fun doing it with those people.
Absolutely. Yeah. You must have is there a good community at Snowbowl?
Yeah, because it's a
Awesome.
small town and I went to college up here, so a lot of my old college friends still live up here. So yeah, it's super fun.
Oh, amazing. I've a friend who lives there. His name's Garrett Oken, and he's actually one of the people who helped me. Like he was a student that I taught in Whistler, and then he was like like remained friends, and he like was pretty supportive of the channel early on. But yeah, he lives there now and raves about Snowbowl. And I've been like, I thought that living in Utah, I just like pop down and see him maybe for like a weekend, but the
You
snow has
should.
been so dry that I mean, I want to come to Snowbowl when it's good too. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe I just
don't come right now.
okay.
We have nothing open. Like it's still fun. I think we honestly have more snow here than like someone sent me a picture of Mount Baker the other day and I was like, "Oh God, at least we don't look like that." But
Right. Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, there's not much. We don't have a lot of chairlifts and runs to begin with, so when they're not all
Okay.
open, it's like you have a couple options and it's it's still fun, but yeah,
Okay.
we have like honestly, I do the same run, same park every day because that's kind of all we have.
Okay. Well, when the snow's decent, I'll come down and ride with you and meet up with Garrett too. We'll have like a good day. That'd
Oh
be
yeah, that'd be
awesome.
super fun.
Hopefully the whole mountain's open and we can get like the full
They're
experience.
still claiming that we're supposed to get like a giant snow season this year, but it's just gonna hit late. I'm like, I don't know if I believe you, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, our confidence is starting to wane, or it's kind of
Yeah,
getting defeated a little bit.
100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a super fun conversation. For everyone that's listening, if you don't already, go follow Snowboard Pro Camp, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anything else? I think that's it,
I think
right?
th I think those are all of them. Yeah.
And then you also have like a blog too. So I'll link his website down below. You guys should definitely go check it out. And yeah, thank you again for coming on. Hopefully we can ride soon.
Thanks, Kaylee. Yeah, this was amazing. Super fun.